Good morning. It's Tuesday, October 21st, and you are watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. Producer Robby West is sitting in for John Kiriakou. John made it back from the land of the tarantulas in Mexico back to the States. That's the good news, but unfortunately, he suffered a health event that's requiring him to get some care today. He assured me and Robby that he will be back tomorrow. And we're looking forward to having him back. In the meantime, thanks everyone for liking, following, and sharing the show, and just for being so supportive for so long. It really is making a huge difference for us. Just a reminder that the new time of the show is Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And so we will be back tomorrow, Johnful with John on Wednesday at 9 a.m. We're crossing our fingers, but it's looking good. And it's just good that he's back here in the States, I think. It sounded pretty miserable down there in Mexico, Robby. Before we get into our into everything that I want to talk about here, we're going to talk. Basically, I want to remind everybody that if you have questions or comments that you'd like Robby or myself or John going forward to talk about, just pipe them into the Rumble chat or the YouTube chat if you're watching live, and we will be watching that feed and piping in the ones that we can handle. All the ones that will make me sound stupid, I will not talk about. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care if I look stupid. And anyway, so today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got 3 Trump envoys, high-level envoys, including Jared Kushner, heading off to the Middle East, and Vice President Vance to lean on Bibi Netanyahu to make sure he doesn't sabotage the ceasefire agreement, which he seems determined to do. A panic on an American Airlines flight from Omaha to LA sort of owes something to security measures that went into effect after 9/11. Just a reminder of the law of unintended consequences. Chicago, I think, Robby, you will have thoughts about this. There was a major hearing in a courtroom where the feds got dressed down by Judge Sarah Ellis over Operation Midway Blitz, which is basically the ICE invasion of parts of Chicago. And then the main story today, it looks like the United States is flirting with regime change and a possible invasion of Venezuela, but it also equally looks like Venezuela is really prepared for such a thing and would make life really miserable for invasion troops. Big story coming out of the military media that we're going to be talking about there, just about what kind of military forces invading American troops would encounter if they were to storm onto the beaches of Venezuela. So, Robby, I think we have a question that got popped up here. Thank you for putting that up from Frasmataz. Did we talk about the Louvre jewelry heist yet? We did yesterday, but there is more to talk about. I heard that Pavel Durov has offered a bounty for the jewels, but he won't return them to France. He will give them to the UAE. Well, I think if he did that, he would probably suffer all sorts of international legal consequences, but maybe not. Anyway, yeah, so Robby, I don't know if you heard, there's more information now coming out on the jewel heist. We did talk about that extensively yesterday, but it's worth pointing out just sort of how crazy this is. So first and foremost, the robbers involved, there were 2 who climbed up the ladder, pried open the window on the second floor. Both of them were not wearing masks. There's no face coverings whatsoever. And I don't know if that was in order to avoid attracting attention on the street outside the Louvre or what that's about. But it seems to me like in an age of facial recognition software, that's going to make them really easy to catch.
I mean, one would think, I don't know. I've never robbed a museum before.
You wouldn't be here talking to me if you had. You'd be living on a beach somewhere or in prison.
Possibly both. I mean, I could be in Guantanamo and have the best of both worlds.
True.
So, I mean, there's always a bright spot. I don't know. I think that if the whole idea is just try to just blend in with the people who are just walking along the river and just not attracting attention, probably wouldn't wear a mask. I would just go in, smash, grab, and then run as fast as I could and get as far away from the EU as I possibly could, as quickly as I could. and then just say the hell with it. Just roll the dice, and as they say, may the odds ever be in your favor.
Yes, indeed. Well, also, I don't know if you heard this, but it turns out that the Louvre is it seems to have, it was built in the 17th century, and it was apparently has the same technology. Maybe it has 19th century technology. There were no cameras in the vision zone of the robbery, none whatsoever. And so, like, a lot of French people today are very upset, and they say that this is a joke. It's making the country look foolish, and that its cultural patrimony is being heisted because of rank incompetence on the part of the authorities. I could really, first of all, two thoughts on a practical investigatory standpoint. I would think that the authorities will be reviewing what camera footage there is to compare people who they must have cased out the spot first, right? These guys must have gone in and noticed and taken note of where the cameras were placed and said, okay, this display is outside of the view of cameras, so we will have this to ourselves. No one's going to have video of us doing this. There's a little bit of video, but that was from people who were in the museum because the museum was open. So these were museum patrons who took cell phone videos. But in terms of the security footage, they must have cased the joint out, unless they had co-conspirators who cased it out for them, which would probably be a smart move. We've all seen like Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 12, and this guy does that, but I think the fewer people you have involved, the more likely you are to get away with it, right? Because there's fewer people to talk or fuck up. Of course.
Yeah, well, I would have done this John Kiriakou style. Remember how he told the story about how he went home and he was in disguise and forgot to change out his disguise and scared his wife? That's what I would have done, is just go in, have a wig on, fake mustache, maybe, whatever, just change my appearance and just look like a different dude every time, right? And that way you're getting the information that you need. You're keeping your circle small, you're keeping it tight, and then you just go in and do what you got to do. Yeah, it's kind of like that's how I would have done it.
No, agreed. Frasmataz follow up. What's the ethnicity of the burglars? I mean, they have their DNA, so we probably know a lot about their 23andMe profiles. Supposedly, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. But they looked white to me, in the footage that I saw. But who knows? They're probably French or European anyway. I bet they're European. They could easily be some other European, but we'll see. We'll find out Germans about that. Again. Political consequences before we move on. I mean, President Emmanuel Macron is really not sitting pretty right now. He's about as popular as Eric Adams and STIs, and he's got, and he's just made a very foolish mistake of reappointing the prime minister, his fourth prime minister, who's also now his fifth prime minister, in order to, hey, if you don't succeed at once, fail again. I guess that's not exactly what Mao Zedong said, but something like that. It's very. I could really see from a standpoint of French national pride that even though it's not a political event, it's going to be interpreted like. I know that, imagine if someone stole, I don't know, someone stole the Declaration of Independence. People would probably be like, they'd blame it on the government, right? They'd say, you aren't doing your job. I mean, I think the French they're going to hold this against Macron.
Well, I would. I mean, it's just like they're the summer of love, right? I mean, if you're a taxpayer, the social contract is I give you the money that I earn. In exchange, you give me order and security. If you're not able to provide those two things, then why should I pay you taxes? It's a fair question. And I think that's a question that the people of France need to really have a good long look in the mirror, not just over this heist. I mean, France is a joke. I know you're a dual citizen, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but seriously, France
looks like a joke right now. That's for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, they can't control their borders. They're constantly being invaded by migrants. They can't even secure their museums.
Yeah, it's a little.
What's the point?
Who would have ever anticipated that someone might be interested in stealing tens of millions of dollars in precious gems? Never saw that one coming.
No, never.
And FUSO said, thanks for the donation. At least they didn't steal Macron's crown jewels. His wife's nuts.
This is true. I would love to get Candace Owens on.
Oh, well, that's a whole thing in and of itself. All right, we should move on. What do you want to talk about? I always let I always tee it up and let John choose the topics in order. So, and of course, obviously. Oh, by the way, it is true that someone said in the feed here that white people. Yeah, Tammy Landgren, thanks you. Aren't some North Africans white? Yeah, sure. So there's white people from all over the world, right? They don't have to be European. So.
No, for sure. I don't know. Let's talk about ICE.
All right, let's talk about ICE. So here's what's going on. Judge Sarah Ellis is basically pissed off. She gave an order, a direct order to the Trump administration and to Homeland Security, and said, listen, if you guys are going to operate in the city of Chicago, you can't use tear gas. You can't use violent crowd control measures. And instead, they went ahead and did exactly that. They mixed it up violently with protesters, even journalists. Remember, there was that sort of heavyset WGN lady who got attacked. I'm not sure she was an on-air personality, but that doesn't matter. She's still a journalist, and as well as even clergymen in Albany Park. And then down on the south side of Chicago, which is a majority black. There was a crazy incident where, and this all caught on video, right? The feds think that like they can do whatever they want, like there was no videos anymore. Videos didn't exist. But basically, they sort of willfully crashed into people who were just sort of parked on the street, they, while trying to, and then they just sort of, as they made their getaway, tossed tear gas canisters out of the car and took off, injuring some of the locals. None of this is. Frankly, to me, before we even get into the legal aspect of all this, these are people who are not properly trained in like riots, crowd control, policing. I mean, these ICE guys, they're kind of like on just a mad tear. There's no indication that they even know how to do their jobs. Forget about whether they should be doing their jobs at all.
Well, I'm going to look at this a little bit differently. And for people who don't know me, because I'm usually on the back end, at least on this show, I'm a hard line when it comes to immigration. Me personally, I have no problem with ICE doing its job. Now, that's being said, I don't think they should be wearing masks. I mean, you should be in uniform. You should have a badge on your back. If you're doing the job of enforcing the law, you shouldn't be doing it hiding behind a mask. That being said,
and it's for your own safety. I mean, Mark my words. I mean, so in my hometown of Dayton, there was an incident years and years ago, but I mean, this kind of thing has happened all over the country. We're in a very dangerous majority black neighborhood called the West Side in West Dayton, also known as the ghetto back in the day. There was the cops went off on one of their drug raids and they got the wrong address. So they break down this dude's door with a battering ram. He thinks, of course, he lives in a terrible neighborhood. He thinks he's the victim of a home invasion. He wants to protect his wife and kid. Pulls out a gun and pops the cops. Right.
Well, that's what happened here in Montana.
At least one officer died. Of course, he was arrested and tried, but ultimately he walked because the cops failed to identify themselves. They didn't announce themselves who they were, and more to the point, they weren't wearing uniforms. They came in unmarked cars, so if he looked out the window, he wouldn't have seen police cruisers or flashing lights. So he had no reason to believe that these were cops. Look, mark my words, someone is going to kill an ICE officer or severely wound them, and they're going to walk because the ICE officer wasn't identified.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're in law enforcement, you don't have to hide behind a mask. You wear a uniform. You're there to send a message. I mean, it's pretty weak. It's kind of almost rolling French style. If you just go in and if you're so afraid of someone taking your picture, go wear a mask, maybe you shouldn't be in law enforcement. Maybe you should be selling aluminum siding, working at Home Depot or something. Maybe you should have a different kind of job.
Well, yeah. I mean, and also I got to say, I don't understand why these ICE guys are so scared, right? The majority of them are ex-military and they're all steroided up. I mean, what are they terrified of? I mean, you took a job where your job is to beat up people, you know, and drag and kidnap them. So, and you're ex-military. I mean, surely picking on women and children isn't that hard.
Okay, well, this is where I'm going to push back, because there was no outrage whatsoever from anyone when Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne into Arkansas to enforce the anti-segregation laws or rulings that came out from the Supreme Court. There was
a lot of outrage from the locals. I mean, you and I have both seen the historical video.
I'm talking. Well, sure.
Film.
Well, of course, but now here's the thing, though. We're talking about this because no, we're clutching our pearls, or at least you are, because the feds are they're actually enforcing federal law. The same thing happened to Ole Miss and Mississippi.
No, that's not my issue at all. The federal. I want to be.
You have a problem with the way the ICE is going through enforcing the law.
The way
I don't. Yeah, I have no problem.
ICE has the legal right to. ICE has the right to interdict and deport undocumented workers and illegal aliens. They do.
You like the way they're doing it, though.
That's the law. Well, but okay, so they are arresting U.S. citizens. Okay, that's clearly against the law. They are snagging green card holders because they write letters to the editor.
I agree with you.
That's against the law too.
I agree with you. I agree with you. The whole green card thing. If you are here legally, and if you have a green card, you're here legally, then I should not be snatching you up. It's just like if you're a Palestinian student, and if you write in the student newspaper, hey, I think I oppose what Israel's doing in Gaza, you should not get snatched up and deported for that. Now, on the flip side, if you come here and you're here illegally, I am not going to shed a tear about how Uncle Sam round you up and send you back to where it is you came from. Now, that being said, they shouldn't be sending them to Sudan or something. That's retarded. They should send you back to the country.
It's effectively, I mean, it's one of those things like it seems to be against the law, but it's certainly against common decency.
Well, again,
and common sense.
But when has this country ever been concerned about decency?
Abraham
Lincoln started a civil war because he decided he was going to send the army into a state that was ignoring tariff laws.
Well, as you know, I agree with you about Lincoln, but like 2 wrongs don't make a right, or 17 wrongs doesn't justify the 18th wrong, right? I mean, this is like right now the topic here is not, it's not what about these other horrible things that happen. What about torture? What about Guantanamo? All of those things are the government doing evil things, invading Iraq, all evil things. But I mean, in this case, we're talking about something I would think that as a Southerner and as a conservative, you would care about, which is the federal troops violating states' rights, federalizing state national guards over the objections of state and local government, and going in like violent thugs, all masked up and just basically dragging people willy-nilly. I mean, look, if you have the way I look at it, I wish that the Trump administration followed its promise and started with violent criminals and deported them first, and then worked their way down the list. But even setting that aside, legally speaking, they're really not they're not doing things by the book. I mean, it's like if I think you, Robby West, is and I'm an ICE officer, is an illegal, I should get information that validates that, get a warrant from a judge, then go and arrest you as non-violently as possible. And I should identify myself. I should say, I'm ICE officer Ted Rall. My badge number is 3742420. I'm here you violated the Immigration Act. Please come with me, sir. Please put your hand behind your back. And then, and treat you with respect. And then, and then allow you to have access to an attorney, talk to, all your constitutional rights. And then ultimately, if you end up deported, so be it. That's okay with me. That's fine.
I agree. But here's the problem is we have had under the Biden administration, and also before that, mostly under Biden, he threw away the rule book. He opened the borders and he allowed millions, and I mean that literally, millions of migrants to come to the country. The system you're talking about does not work in that case because
that was an idiotic and stupid move, right? Of
course it was.
So now we're following up an idiotic and stupid move with a series
we're Americans.
Of more idiotic and stupid moves.
Well, that's what we do. We're Americans. We always overreact. We always go the other way. Listen, in a perfect world, I agree with you. I'm against a militarized police force. Hell, I'm against having an FBI. We shouldn't have the federal government should not be involved in law enforcement at all. It should be a state's issue. That's not the system we live in because federalism is dead. It's been dead since 1865.
Well, that's what the Gestapo was the German federal police, right? And that's essentially what the FBI is. It's not really strictly, it's an investigatory unit, but it's in some ways it's worse than a state police because you know, like the FBI, like you can't really refuse to answer their questions. You can take the Fifth Amendment if the cops talk to you, but if you refuse to answer in the FBI fulsomely, you can easily be charged with impeding a federal investigation.
I know, and that's the problem we run into. So as a conservative, I don't even know what that word even means anymore, because there's nothing in the system I want to conserve. I want to blow it up and start over.
Well, there never were any conservatives anyway, Robby, right? I mean, seriously, when I was growing up and I learned about conservatives, I was like, okay, so conservatives to me would be people who kind of pretty much want to keep the status quo, don't break it if it isn't fixed. I mean, don't fix it if it isn't broken. And that just doesn't seem to be, you know, I don't know many people like that. I mean, I know right-wingers. I know all sorts of different kinds of right-wingers. I know nationalists. I know imperialists. I know colonialists. But I don't really know anyone who's just like, we're good. Just leave it be. Don't change anything.
Yeah, because it's completely broken. And as far as Trump calling up the National Guard on the TMI show, I gave you a nice solution for that. And if any of these governors would listen, and the fact that some inbred redneck that has a family tree that doesn't have any forks can come up with this idea, but these educated governors can't, blows my mind. The president cannot federalize the state militia. So what you do is that you disband the National Guard and call it the militia. That solves our problem. Think about what I just said.
No,
the National Guard. Now, I'm telling this note for the benefit of the audience, right? The federal government they sold the National Guard Act as a alternative to the militia because the National Guard can be federalized. That's why it can be sent overseas.
American Sweetheart 7 asks a good question. Why does no one talk about going after the people hiring undocumented workers?
And they should be.
I'm not going to say it never comes up. I'm just going to say it almost never comes up, right? It's like every time you hear in the news about like the immigration crisis, or if you view it as a crisis, it's always, 99 times out of 100, it's about the workers themselves. It's not about the employers. And the thing is, you and I both know the answer to that, right? Because a lot of the people who hire them are big business, right? Like Tyson Foods used to be notorious in Arkansas for hiring tons of illegal immigrants. Agribusiness hires a lot of undocumented workers. Everyone I know who has like a nanny or a housekeeper here in Manhattan who's like wealthy and well off, everyone knows they're undocumented. So, I mean, it's the rich and powerful who are, they are exploiting these poor people, literally poor people who are coming from overseas for a better life, and underpaying them and driving down American wages. I mean, the whole thing is a shit show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point. Right. I mean, people treat immigration as a victimless crime, saying, "Oh no, these poor people. They're just coming here for a better life."
That's true. I mean, that is true. But they're being used.
But they're being used, and also they're being used as a cudgel to beat down the American working class by depressing wages.
Right. But that's not why they're here. They're not like
they're here to loot the country. I mean, let's just be honest.
They're not looting. They're not really at minimum wage. No one's looting anything.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me that remittances aren't a thing where you go when you earn money, you send it back to the country which you came from? That's not a form of looting.
These are people
that's
who
called
come
looting,
from desperately poor places.
You're taking something that does not belong to you and you're giving it to somebody else. It's called looting.
It's look, the thing is, the way it's like this: if you leave your front door wide open and people walk in and steal your television, the insurance company isn't covering you. right?
I
Because
agree.
like you didn't lock your door. There was no breaking and entering. And like Joe Biden and every previous president left the door wide open.
And that's
It's
why,
like you can't really blame the people who walking by like, hey, that's a nice TV they got in there.
and so that's the whole thing about Trump. I mean, you can criticize the way he's doing things. The question that I have though is, what alternative do you have? I mean, the system is broken. If you sling the door open like what you're talking about, and you have a homeless encampment that comes in and they just start squatting in your house, do you want the police to come in and give them a strongly worded letter, ask them to please leave, or you want them to throw you out or throw them out?
Well, of course I want them thrown out. And of
Okay,
course,
there you go then.
all these terrible cases where people actually break into homes. But, there are squatters' rights, and I think kind of rightly so, for people who really abandon their property. Like here in New York in the 1970s and 80s, neighborhoods like the East Village, Alphabet City, Soho had tons of abandoned space. And we're talking about like, even if you were like, oh, I'd like to find the landlord and offer to rent this space, you couldn't, because they were long gone, right? They had given up on this property. So people, those are basically, there's holes in the wall. People can just move in. I don't see I don't really have a problem with that. That's not what we're talking about here. But anyway, it's not, I don't know. It's not a strictly great analogy, but I have great compassion for
I do too.
for immigrants. I have no compassion for policymakers or for big employers who are creating a situation where they're they're encouraging us to divide, and they're dividing and conquering us, right? We're on the same side, or should be on the same side as so-called illegal immigrants, because we're all getting fucked by the same people.
But here's the problem though, is that the illegal immigrants are being used to fuck the people that were born here. That's the issue. And
that's the divide and conquer thing I just said.
I know, and so that's the point I'm bringing out. Just like American Sweetheart, she made a comment just a second ago. She's like, Robby, if they earn money to send it back, I mean, don't they have the right to do what they want to with their money? The answer is yes, because they worked for it, they earned it. Here's the issue. The reason why government and business like immigration is because it depresses wages. That is a statement of fact. I know.
Look, Robby, I thought of you this morning, not in that kind of way. I was listening to NPR, and they had a story out of Montana, your home state, and it was about the difficulty in hiring public school teachers. They said that, years ago, they had no problem getting 20 or 30 applicants per teaching opening in like a public school. Now they're lucky if one or two people show up, and they're worried that I think it's the J1 visa program, which is sort of one step below the H-1B visa program, is being curtailed, and they don't know where they're going to find their public teachers. They said, oh, Americans don't apply for these jobs. And they said, oh, they pay an average of $50,000 or $60,000 a year, which in Montana doesn't sound too bad, except that I've been to Montana and I know it's really expensive. And like the thing is, I thought like to myself, they're like, well, we can't hire anyone. I'm like, okay, well, listen, you could pay more. And I know the principal or the superintendent would say, we don't have that budget. That's true. But let's just say you can't fill, this is how economic pressure works. Let's say you can't fill the position at $60,000 a year, and the position goes empty, and you can't offer, say, French. Okay, well, the thing is that you're going to put pressure on city council to say, listen, we need to pay our teachers better so that we can get some Americans in here to take these jobs. Otherwise, these positions are going to go empty, and our schools are going to go to shit. And then the city council is going to pressure the taxpayers to pay more property taxes to fund those schools. I mean, that there has to be pressure. You can't sort of passively say, well, that's just the budget. That's just how much we pay. That's just what it is. It can't be helped. It was brought back. Moses brought these teachers' salaries from Montana down from the mountain, and now we're stuck with them. That's not how it goes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, I know we have to move on, but here's the thing. So I understand that I come across, sound like a massive raging asshole because the way that I talk about immigration.
Because you're mean to people who are really poor and are doing exactly what you would do if you were in their position. Like because you love your family more than anything. And if they were desperate and you lived in, a shithole country, and you were like, I had a chance to walk through the open border of the United States and maybe send a remittance back to your wife and kid, you would 100% cross through the Darien Gap and do that.
100%. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not mad at the immigrant. I promise you, I'm not.
Okay. It sounds like you are, though.
Well, I don't. They don't have a right to be here.
No, well,
I have.
That's true.
I have
Although in a way they do. If the door is left
don't.
open, look, they literally show up at Eagle Pass, Texas, and like they fill out an appointment with under Biden, and they're like, yeah, I'd like to be there at 1:15. It's like open table, and they show up, and then they're like, okay, you're good. Have a good day. How are they illegal immigrants? If I go to
okay, hold on,
Dubai
Ted.
I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'd like to come here and work, and
Ted,
they're like, okay, come on in. How am I an illegal immigrant?
Take a breath for a second. Who makes the laws of this country, Congress or the president?
Well, these days, the president. But
no,
yes,
I'm asking
theoretically, Congress, yeah.
Okay, so then do we have these things called immigration laws on the books?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so why do we have immigration laws? To determine who gets to live here.
That's right.
The reason why sand is cheap is because there's a lot of it. You cannot on one hand say that you give two shits about workers' wages and the ability to make a living, while on the other side of your mouth saying that we have the right to import the entire fucking third world to come live here, driving down our wages because they are having a bad time where they come from.
So just change the law.
Ted.
Pressure Congress.
How about we enforce the law? Go Vlad Impaler style. Good fences make good neighbors.
Do that too. But I mean, the point is that the point is that if it's not the illegal immigrants' fault, and we do have to move on. It's not their fault that these laws weren't enforced. Right?
They have agency, Ted. They came here. They have agency.
It's retroactive enforcement, though, right? This is like, okay.
Of course it is.
The speed limit on the New Jersey Turnpike is 55. No one drives under 80. They just don't. Okay, and so like, what happens if the New Jersey State Police decide to look at all the cameras on the turnpike and issue retroactive tickets like 10 years from now for everyone who ever drove like at over the speed limit? That's ridiculous. They weren't enforcing the law. There was a norm that was unenforced. You could say, well, they should have been enforcing the law, but they weren't. You can only, that's my problem with it. By all means, close the border now and don't let new people in. I agree with that. We have high unemployment, but you can't go back and say to people that we welcomed with open arms, what the fuck are you doing here, asshole?
Hold on. Who the hell is this we?
Well, it's not me, but it's the country. But it's the policy.
Bullshit. It was Joe Biden and his administration. You can
right.
No, I'm calling bullshit right here, right now. There is no we. The American people were not asked our opinion on this. Show me where the vote was. It's just like with Thomas Massey, what's going on with him right now. He's trying to force a vote of the Epstein files being released. Congress is shut down. Partly, and I submit this, is because Speaker Johnson is scared to death that Massey's going to have his way and get those Epstein files released. The American people want those files released. We're not getting them. The American people want higher wages. We're not getting them. The American people want to do something about the debt. We're not getting any. We're not getting any of that. But then though, we have people on the left, like
brother,
you're saying,
I hear you.
But they have people on the left saying, like, "Oh, these poor immigrants. Fuck them. They can go back home."
I just don't see that. I know you have a personal connection to all this, and and it's worth hearing. By the way, people should go and listen to my interview with Robby, and it'll give you some good background. It's actually super fascinating. But let's move on. All right, what do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about? Let's talk about this American Airlines flight very quickly, right? So. Okay. I thought this was I'm always interested in the law of unintended consequences. So American Airlines 6569 from Omaha to LA yesterday left Omaha. 36 minutes later, the pilot heard pounding on the locked cockpit door. So he freaked out and thought terrorists were trying to break in and hijack the plane, returned the plane to Omaha. It turns out that the radio link between the flight deck and the main cabin wasn't working, and the crew had no way to communicate with the pilot. By the way, it's a radio link, right? You would think that it wouldn't be radio. You'd think it would be not like a walkie-talkie. You'd think it'd be like an internal wire. But anyway, the point is, I'm not sure if that's like a typo in the story. But anyway, this led me to think, okay, so thank God there was no terrorist attack. Great. Okay. But this was a security measure, locked cabin, cockpit doors went into effect after the 9/11 hijackings. And I always wondered someday there might be a problem. What if, let's say, there was a threat, a problem on the plane, like a distressed passenger, damage to the fuselage, a terrorist trying to do something bad in the main cabin, and there's no way for them to communicate that to the pilot. And they knock on the door, but he's like, I hear you knocking, but you can't come in, like Dave Edmonds.
Right.
Well, then what? Right? I mean, it just seems like there's got to be a better way.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a race to the bottom, right? I mean, it's interesting. We can't. Boeing's planes even fall apart midair. I mean, I'm not really sure what the solution is to this. I think we just got to completely start over and just work from the basics and work our way up. I mean, first and foremost, I think one of the things that has to start to happen is, just airline safety, just in general. Though I know it's like to work for free.
Martina says they couldn't text. Good question. I mean, if there's Wi-Fi on the plane, they should be able to text, or there should be some kind of like transponder type device that they could type something to the pilot. There should be. Yeah. Look, what's needed here is obviously
or even just use NFC on your phone or a badge. If you have to get in, just the badge your way in or something. Maybe there could be like a window, right? Like a
shock-proof window. Like they have in submarines, where you can be like, you point to a piece of paper, like there are snakes on the plane.
We got problems here. I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's just no common sense anymore in American business.
Rasmutas says, "Knock on the door in Morse code."
Yes, we've got a problem. It's just crazy. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is for that. I've only been on a plane 3 times, I think, in the 49 years I've been on this earth. So I'm kind of the wrong person to ask about this. I just don't know how it works.
But what I don't understand, honestly, like this is a country that like it wants to impose regime change on other countries, and we're going to get to Venezuela. We have a probe in interstellar space beyond Pluto now. And we're not capable of figuring something out as basic as this. I mean, we want driverless cars, but we've had passenger aviation now for 100 years, and we haven't figured this. I mean, it just seems so, what's that word? Retarded.
Yes, that's the word we're trying to bring back. By the way, it's a good word. It's an important word. So my name starts with an R. I'm partial to names, the words that start with R.
My last name starts with an R. Mine is too.
Yeah. Oh my God. We got to bring the R words back. Represent.
Indeed. So thanks for the donation. Says borders were opened so that we can have an authoritarian overreaction, which builds the surveillance and police state.
I can see that. I mean, if you're going to have any kind of authoritarian government,
it's like the big version of the seizure of the commons, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to have a crisis. So it's a well-known tactic that the government would create a crisis just to then to offer the solution to the crisis they created.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, we do see that.
Let me go ahead and do an ad while we wait for the next story.
Let's do the ad. In the meantime, I'll just throw this out there. American Sweetheart says, Robby, if they earn the money, the immigrants, and send it back, I mean, don't they have the right to do what they want with their money? I don't think you were arguing. You were arguing anything different there, right?
No, I wouldn't. Let's see. So I've tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. I need that right now. 5 a.m. is an early time to get started. A single origin, small batch, toxin-free, mold-free, plus you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped of plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. I do that every day. and a black 1775 tumbler. Why is everything about race? $175 worth of gear and coffee, yours for $99. This is one for the ones watching 1775 blow up on Rumble. Whether it's actually worth it, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine to stand for something just like Rumble does.
So just a reminder, if you're just joining us here, John Kiriakou is my co-host, is out unexpectedly today. He's back in the United States from Mexico, but he had a health issue that he's dealing with now, and he'll be back at home in studio tomorrow. So thanks for sticking with us. Please like, follow, and share the show. Just please watch us on Rumble, because that's where your watching really makes a difference. Also, YouTube is remonetized. Yep. So if you want to do a donation through the YouTube chat while we're live, that is now activated. It's really a bummer. People used to do that, and then once we got demonetized, people just sort of forgot that they could do that. And then now, our YouTube is like in the gutter. We're making like pennies on the dollar over there. So thanks for the support of Rumble, or we wouldn't even be here.
For sure.
So, all right. So let's talk about Israel, and we'll do Venezuela next. So right now, Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner are all on their way to Israel. And basically, what's interesting is that, Donald Trump seems to share our opinion and conventional wisdom that Bibi Netanyahu is not at all interested in peace. He's just trying to stay out of jail and stay in power, and that basically he's looking for any excuse or any pretext to blow it up. The Israelis have already killed at least 50 Palestinians during the ceasefire, and they seem to, and their narratives haven't been, let's just say, exactly credible. So Trump looks like he's sending those guys over there to, knock Bibi across the head and say, cut the shit and stick to it. Is that going to work? And how's that going to look? I mean, I think the only real leverage the U.S. has, we have a lot of leverage over Israel, but we never seem to want to use it. But we can say we're cutting off your money. We're not going to support you in the UN Security Council with our endless vetoes every time someone tries to hold you to account. We're not going to protect you from the ICC or the ICJ anymore. We can stop intelligence sharing. We can stop supplying weapons. There's a lot of stuff that we can do. Israel is, we think that we're their bitch, but the truth is, they're our bitch. We're just not acting like it. It's very strange.
No, we're their bitch because they have AIPAC. Let's be honest.
But no one's going to care about AIPAC. Like AIPAC is, sure, they have money, but they don't have. They don't represent significant political support in the United States anymore, according to the polls.
Ted, you assume that the politicians actually care about what the voters think. We have government by donor. Let's be honest here. It's like, for example, we have a country of 340 million people. The last presidential election, we had a extremely qualified candidate in the form of Kamala Harris, who worked for her senile boss.
The most qualified candidate to ever run for president.
To run against an autistic dude who failed in his first presidency. That's the best we could do. No, it's because we get the government that the donors pay for. And AIPAC is a big part of that. So
no question. But so what's going to happen here with these three guys who are heading over? Obviously Trump seems serious about this for now, right? He doesn't have much of an attention span.
It's not up to Trump.
So what do you think? Do you think Netanyahu can or will resist, or will he just play for time?
Oh no, he can and he will resist. Netanyahu on film said he owns the American Congress. The American Congress will not work for the benefit of its own people, but it will work for the benefit of Israel. If Trump tries to, in any way, shape, or form, punish Israel, Congress is going to backhand him. They will actually come out of their perpetual retirement just to screw his agenda. No, Bibi is going to get his war. The genocide is going to continue, and the American taxpayer is going to continue paying for it.
Sorry.
Maybe I'm cynical, but I mean, that's how I see it.
No, I mean, I think that's probably right, but I mean, to me, it's very strange that that the president can't have his way here. I mean, look, he can, right? I mean,
well, he
could tell the Israelis, get rid of Netanyahu. I mean, literally, we could do what Hillary Clinton did when under Obama, when she was choosing the new government of Ukraine over the phone. They could do the same thing here. They literally, the White House could call the Israelis and say, we want Clovis as Minister of the Interior. We want Robby as Minister of Defense, and so on. They could do that. They just choose not to.
Of course. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, listen, Trump had the single biggest cell phone ever on international TV when he was addressing the Israeli Knesset. And Miriam Adelson was sitting there on the front row, and Trump was talking in his autistic way that he does, and about when he asked her, which country do you love more, Israel or the United States? And then he said that she wouldn't answer. Well, the non-answer is an answer. And she's just sitting there with that smug look on her face, and Trump's just up there giggling like a 4-year-old. Tells you everything that you need to know. Well, we are an occupied, colonized country. We have been conquered by this little pissant excuse of a country with a population of 9 million people, the size of New Jersey, with no natural resources. But they own the American government. 100,000 Americans die every single fucking year because of drugs. No one cares.
Robbie, you're a student of history, so you know how things keep going the way they always have been until they don't. And I think we are potentially at one of those moments for sure.
Well, the interview that we did with the Zoomers that aired yesterday on the TMI show, that shows where the breakout's going to happen. It's with the next generation.
PC is asking, about your comment that sort of slipped by. Trump is autistic. I'm autistic, and my radar doesn't pick it up.
Well, he definitely seems autistic to me. Let's just put it that way. I mean, the dude, he's all over the place. He has the attention span of a gnat.
He has ADHD. I think he has ADHD or something like that. I mean, the thing is, right, psychiatry is barely 100 years old, and so we're kind of like, it's not like it's not a real thing, but it's morphing so quick, so much. And, we have these, the idea of personality disorders is relatively new, and like, what is the spectrum? I mean, and like, what is neurodivergence? Is everybody neurodivergent? Is it just I think that's kind of like where I stand, is like, everybody's like their own kind of weirdo, basically.
I think that Goodna over on YouTube has it right, using it as a pejorative. I think that's probably accurate. Because call him stupid is not the right word. Trump's not stupid.
He's not stupid.
He's not stupid. That's the problem. If he was stupid,
he's one of the most brilliant campaigners this country has ever seen.
Oh, Trump would be a lot less dangerous if he was retarded. The problem is he's not. He sucks at his job.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right, we got to talk about Netanyahu. Not Netanyahu, Venezuela. We talked about Netanyahu. So this was a very interesting story. If you go over to military.com, there's a whole assessment of the current situation in Venezuela, between the United States and Venezuela. Obviously, all eyes have been on the bombings of these 5 boats. And now a Colombian fishing vessel, a fisherman, apparently it was a distressed fisherman who was unable to get back to shore. He was the victim there in Colombia. But that's a sideshow. And so we now have 10,000 U.S. troops patrolling the southern Caribbean off the coast of northern Venezuela. And they are supposedly there to interdict drug boats, although those drug boats are not headed to the United States. They're headed mainly to Trinidad, and maybe in some cases they're heading off to Africa, where they're then distributed, as John pointed out, along old canvassary routes in the Sahara Desert, which is kind of fascinating in and of itself. But they make cocaine there. Same thing in Colombia, right? They don't make fentanyl. Right. Fentanyl is what's afflicting the United States and killing our young people. But anyway, these 10,000 U.S. troops are what would they face? Because it seems pretty clear, according to people who've seen the administration's internal documents, that there's absolutely no there when it comes to Venezuela as a source or threat to the United States as so-called narco terrorists. That's just a lie. That's just not true. And that this is really about overthrowing Nicolas Maduro. So Nicolas Maduro, not stupid either, has issued a declaration of emergency. Not surprising, considering that his nationals are being blown up like they're going out of style when they ever get out on a boat. He claims to have a militia with 8 million people armed with RPGs, anti-tank systems, and that they've been trained in Caracas, in the slums and urban warfare. They've got Russian-supplied Su-30 jets that have been buzzing an aircraft carrier there. They have various missile sites, the S-125, the Igla-S, etc. They've got a lot of stuff from Russia. And basically, there's no ground logistics on the part of the United States. So in other words, it seems to me like if the U.S. is going to do anything against Caracas, they're going to be launching an air campaign. It's going to look like Serbia, right? It'll like the Kosovo War in the mid-90s under Clinton. It's not going to be like an Iraq-style invasion. But the point is, you can't really overthrow Nicolas Maduro, who is popular in Venezuela, without a ground invasion. So if there is a ground invasion, however, it looks like there will be guerrilla warfare on an epic level, even if Maduro is exaggerating about the numbers and the weaponry in the way that Saddam did. Could this be the Trump's version of the Iraq War? Basically looking for a war against a country that does and has meant us no harm whatsoever, where the local leader is popular and where there will be active, sustained, violent resistance against U.S. troops.
I don't think it'll happen because he would have such a backlash from the America First faction on the right. There's nothing America First about this. If you're concerned about immigration like I am, the absolute last thing that you want to do is start a major war in a really big South American country, especially when there's no plan for what happens next. I mean,
that sounds familiar. That does sound like Iraq.
Yeah, well, it's Iraq. It's Libya.
Well, they had
also.
Ahmed Chalabi, who was supposedly going to run the whole country.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I mean, what is America First about any of this? The answer is nothing. And I think that would be one of the cases where Congress, again, could get involved, because the War Powers Act will let President wage war on his own for what, 50 days?
I mean,
what happens after that?
Robby, you're making me laugh. You think that Congress is finally going to stand up to Trump on this issue?
Yeah, I do, because the left would paint Trump as being a racist, and then the American First people like me said this does not serve the American interest in any way, shape, or form. It counters American interest, and then you're going to actually have unexpected help from the neocons who are wanting to keep the war going in Ukraine for as long as they can. For every bomb that we drop on Venezuela is one less bomb we're able to give to kill those pesky Russians. So at the end of the day, I think politically it would be a disaster. And more to the point, I mean, seriously, we've seen this movie before. What's the goal? Okay, you take out Maduro. Who replaces him? What happens next?
Well, of course, they don't have any plan for that at all.
Of course not.
And also, I mean, look, I think the bottom line is there won't be a ground invasion, just because obviously this president, I don't think, has any appetite for that. I think he's doing basically one of these things like, let's see if we can get rid of this guy easily. And if it's a lot of work and if he sticks with it, I'll move on to my next project.
I think what he's trying to do, honestly, he's trying to stir this stuff up in our hemisphere to try and take pressure and take eyeballs off of what's going on in Israel. I think that's what this is. He's trying to change the conversation. There's two things Trump does not want to talk about. He doesn't want to talk about Epstein, and he doesn't want to talk about Gaza. So then what do? You rattle the saber.
Back a little bit. I mean, like, both the thing is, if he does invade Venezuela, he will have the support, tacit or direct, of all of the mainstream corporate media outlets, including liberal ones like the New York Times and the Washington Post, they'll all be behind him because they've been slagging Nicolas Maduro for years. And
So
before
what?
that, Hugo Chavez, right, as
So what?
evil socialists.
Who the hell cares? Glenn Greenwald, Kim Iverson, and Tucker Carlson get more viewers than CNN does. All media is where the power is.
Okay, so let me ask you this. All right, so from a MAGA perspective, are people, they don't care about the boats because it's just 30 people? Is that basically the size of it, and it's not a full-fledged war?
I think that they're just not paying attention. To be honest with you, I think that just the average MAGA voter is more concerned with paying their bills, paying rent, than Trump blowing up the odd speedboat. I think that they're just more concerned with just their domestic economic situation that's deteriorating. Now, the way that you change that is when you start actually saber rattling for a brand new war. That's something entirely different. If Trump is serious, also the American people are not stupid. If Trump really wanted to crack down on the fentanyl and stuff that's wasting tens of thousands of Americans every year, he would be going into Mexico, not Venezuela. And people know that.
People do know that, and obviously he cannot do that. Look,
Listen,
we're gonna have to watch the Venezuela story because I think it's a big deal.
If I could, I would go President Polk style, and I would say, damn the consequences, and I would fix the problem. Trump's not that guy.
What, you would go into Venezuela?
No, I'd go into Mexico City.
Well, yeah. I guess those days seem to be like in the past now. So thank you everyone for listening to a show. Robby, thank you so much for sitting in for John again. And John, we are, of course, obviously hoping and praying for you, and we know you're going to be okay. And we're looking forward to seeing what the way people swear says about them and their culture and their religion and so on. Super interesting stuff. I love anthropology.
We heard a little bit of cussing this morning.
We do. Anyway, things always get spicy here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. And thanks for supporting the show.
Okay.
See you later. Thanks, Robby. Bye.
You're welcome. Hold on 1 second. Let me get the rage started here.
Okay. You ready?
Almost. Just sit tight. We're doing some triple duty here real quick. Yes, indeed. We're almost ready there, boys and girls. We're getting there.
All right. Yeah, it's a thing. It's you're watching behind the scenes here. It's 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. And I do have to hit that magic button and head over. Manila's going to be waiting.
All righty. Go ahead and hit that button now.